Hi everyone, it's Nat. Today I'd like to show you some envelopes that I've made for a swap. You might remember a week or so ago I had a haul video where I showed a couple of books that I got, which included this Australian Birds book and the Kate Greenaway collection. And I also found some embellishment packages. Well, they were sitting on my table and I wanted to embellish the envelopes slightly, so I actually used some of these things rather than trying to find too much in my messy craft room. So I did these like the same day that I did that haul video, but I'm only posting it now because I don't like to show the things that I'm sending to other people very often, because I want them to not know what they're getting and get a bit of a surprise, obviously. So this is the first one I made. I've recently purchased one of the We Are Memory Keepers envelope boards, so I used that for all of them, which is a bit slack, but I just haven't had time to print out templates and do all different types, which I hope to do in the future. So I made this little one, very basic, just scrapbooking paper from a pad I had, and I have stacks of this blue lace, so I thought I'd just use that around some of the edges. So it's very simple, but I really like the way that's turned out. And then the second one I made, I tried to find the paper pad to show you the paper pad, but it's gone missing because I've been cleaning, and when I clean I can't find anything. Go figure. So I made this envelope. I really liked the Australian native plants on there, and so I thought that that would go really well with a bird picture out of the Australian Birds book. So I'm pretty sure it's sort of like one of these parrots. Well, not quite, they're a little different, but something very similar. And I found one of the little pictures in here was just one of these sort of little ones, like that one. And I cut it out, and then I just backed it onto some plain green cardstock that I had, and then inked around the edges, just so it wasn't so bright. And stuck that on, and I love it. It's very simple, but really nice. And to go with it, I thought I'd slip in just a little journaling card, and I've bought a couple of corner punches that I found in the second-hand shops, and I haven't used them much, or the different corners, so I thought I'd punch some corners out of it and just did a little, looks like an Australian native plant of some sort possibly. Thought I'd just do a stamp on there, and so that can slip in there, something a little extra. Now I made this one, that's out of some cardstock as well, and the embellishment that I put on that is from this wallpaper roll that I have. I managed to pick this up at a second-hand shop. I never find them in the town that I live in, but one day I went for a drive a few towns over, and the prices were so much better, and I managed to find a few bits and pieces of wallpaper, so I must do that again sometime and see if there's any more. So if you can see, there's this little sort of motif there with the roses on, so I cut one of those out, and I just backed it onto some pink cardstock, which I inked around, and I didn't really like how it looked on there. So then I used the trim that I found here. They're like pinky sort of pearlish strands. So I used some of that just to go around the edge, and I quite like that. It's a bit Easter egg shaped, but I thought that doesn't really matter because this weekend's Easter anyway, so it'll work. And I just put a button on the back so it can just be tucked in. So the journaling card I made to put in that one is this. Now this, I fussy cut the flowers on that out of this wallpaper. I love this one. So I just took some of these little flowers here and some of the white flower and just cut them out and stuck them on. I inked around the edges, and I used I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a maroonish colour distress ink to go around the edges of that, and just coloured in the card a little bit. I quite like that as well, so it's a nice little journaling spot that I've stuck in there. And then out of this same wallpaper that I showed before, I decided to make an envelope out of that. Now I had a few little funny creases that I don't know where came from here, and they were quite off-putting, so I thought to cover them up I'd stick some of this pink lace on, and I think that looks quite nice. I had to put it under some books though, because you know wallpaper it always wants to curl up and that, so I keep putting it under books just to try and flatten it out. And I made a journaling card with the same wallpaper, and I just backed it onto some tea-dyed cardstock. I did use a fancy corner punch, but I didn't put one of them in right, and it didn't work evenly, so I thought, look, I'll just cut them off, and I thought I'll just leave it like that. That looks okay. So that slips in there. Like that. And then the last one I made was this. It's basically just a plain card envelope that I have covered in a vintage music paper. I have previously tried to make an envelope with the vintage music paper, but when I scored it, it just ripped. So I thought it's best to stick it onto something first and then make the envelope. And this is where I used some of the pictures out of the Kate Greenaway book. Now I think I've stuck the loose ones in here. So I just ripped, because a lot of the pages have, oops, clumsy. A lot of the pages have these pictures, and they're all the same of the little kids and some ladies and that. So I didn't feel too bad taking one of those out and getting stuck into it, because there's so many. I'm going to take one out later and take it to my mum, because she's just started junk journaling as well, and I think she'll love to use some of these. So I just ripped them out and just inked around the edges, and I stuck one there. And then I also used, I had this sort of lace trim that I stuck there, and then used, now which one was it out of? One of these had some buttons. I think it was this one. Had these buttons in it, so I used those. And then I used some eyelash trim. I think it came out of here, but I didn't put it back in. So a bit of eyelash trim. It's the first time I've put eyelash trim on, so I keep trying to buff it out so it sticks out a bit. But I think that worked quite nicely. And then on the back it was a bit plain, so I used another one of the pictures, and these are just the offcuts from this lace, and I hate wasting anything, and I actually like the way they look there. They sort of fit just right, so it was meant to be. And then the journaling card for that one, I thought I'd carry on the same sort of theme, so it's the music paper with tea dyed on the back. And I found this yellow lace that I love. It's a wide one, and I don't have very much of it, so I just cut a little bit out and stuck that on. And then another one of the ladies that I ripped from the book and just inked around the edges. And then of course some fancy corners. I thought that worked really nicely. So I thought I'd try a few different envelopes, you know, made out of different things, which was good, because I haven't used the wallpaper much for anything, and I really enjoyed fussy cutting bits out of it to use as well, so I'm going to do a lot more of that. But yes, so that will be my envelope swap for this particular group, and it'll be interesting to see what comes back. I love the swaps, being able to send some of the things that you've made and then seeing what different things come back is awesome. So I hope everyone's having a lovely day, and it is just before Easter, although you'll see this a lot later than that, but I hope everyone had a wonderful Easter. See you later.